Well, thank you very much. Transcendental meditation is a simple, ridiculously simple. If you're familiar with meditations where you have to sit in a special position, where you have to concentrate, where you have to chant something and remember it, any of these things, it's simpler than any of that. So simple. And then we say it's natural. Natural is a very big thing. Natural means like if you take your pen and drop it, it goes to the ground because it's just natural. Just gravity does it. This is a technique where the mind goes inside to all of those wonderful, delightful, blissful levels that are inside, that actually a lot of the time it's like there's a protective shield over it. We can't just get there. We need a technique to get there, and this is a completely natural technique. So you can get to this transcendental level automatically. Simple, natural, effortless. I believe it's the only technique, transcendental meditation, that is completely effortless. We don't chant, we don't strain, we just completely effortlessly use a particular sound that you would be given. Now that's one other thing, is that one has to learn this from a trained teacher. You can't learn it from a book. Now that is not like to say some moral stricture, oh, it's wrong to learn it from a book. It will not work. It's very delicate process to be able to it takes 4 sessions, about an hour each time. And then, even from the first, you'll have this experience, and I'm going to show you how the brain changes, a quick little clip of how the brain changes immediately from the very first time you do it. So there's it. Simple, natural, effortless mental technique. It's learned in 4 sessions. Grace is here from the Transcendental Meditation Center, and you have a handout so that anybody who wants to learn it that way. Now, so I did as you recommended. So let's talk a little bit about Wall Street. So the real reason why Wall Street loves TM. So, and this pertains just as much, and we've actually, Grace at the center has taught people from the industry, financial industry, the traders, stockbrokers here. So first of all, it's an intense, zany, corrupt, stressful world. And this is a clip from The Big Short. I first prepared this talk for Los Angeles. We teach Transcendental Meditation. My wife Nina and I teach it full time. And so you got to go in with a few movie clips or you have no audience. So I'm not going to play this right now because everybody knows it. Intense, zany, corrupt, stressful world. And what I was fascinated to learn here is that you can multiply everything because you don't get to go to bed at the end of the day. At the end of the day, then you turn on your computer and follow the New York markets all night. And there's no time for sleep. And so sometimes that makes it more complicated. And Transcendental Meditation is instant deep rest at will. It's a technology. Okay. So the usual expectations for meditation are that it's sweet and that it balances things out in the jungle of Wall Street. And sweetness, light, peaceful. And I don't mean to imply that we're not, actually. I looked up some meditation music. You can play it. I'm not going to spend part of my 20 minutes on playing this, but it's some sweet, tinkly little music, meditating, and it makes you feel peaceful. We do make you peaceful. I don't want to misrepresent ourselves. It's extremely peaceful, but that's only part of the story and not the most important part. So And this is another clip. This is Ray Dalio and Martin Scorsese. And Ray Dalio, is he a familiar name at all? Does anyone know him? Yeah, yes. He's head of a gargantuanly large hedge fund. And he is 260 billion. I see different estimates of it. And this is Martin Scorsese, leading film producer. And they're both talking, and in this clip, which I'm also not going to play, Ray says that it's the biggest thing in his life, and he's been doing it. He says, I was a very mediocre student, and but he's not a mediocre stockbroker. He doesn't say that, and he says that a big part of the reason was the Transcendental Meditation. So what did he get from it? He says that he gets, and some of this was written up in the Wall Street Journal and other Wall Street sources, and so a lot of this material are just, these quotations are from there. And he said, I did it, and what did he do? He taught it to his whole company. So this whole company, and I did it because it's the greatest gift I could give anyone. It brings about equanimity, creativity, and peace. And those are the things I put in the header: equanimity, creativity, and peace. And those things, absolutely, we do those things. This fellow amazes me because he's both a full-blown trader, financial person, and he's also an actor, a successful actor. And if you live in LA, you realize most actors are not successful. If you go into a restaurant and your waiter comes around and then you say, oh, and so what else do you do? I'm an actor. So, but he's a successful actor and a successful trader. And he splits 18-hour days between Wall Street, philanthropy, acting, and 3 kids. 3 kids could do it. Okay, and then I just thought I gave everyone an idea. I think nobody needs to be reminded, but in an 18-hour day, that's 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., and you have to work through your meals. It's not easy to put in an 18-hour a day. How many do that? Close. Here's another one, Barry Friedberg, and he does it for the energy. I never leave a session where I don't feel energized. Didier Fitoussi, and who has a beautiful wife, and he does it to deal with stress and have a clearer head. And by the way, this transcending that I mentioned is an extremely effective antidote to stress. Much more, and we've measured this, our scientists have measured this, much more than if you just sit quietly or take a little break, even go on vacation like that. When the mind actually goes inside to these deeper levels, they're very nourishing, and it begins to dissolve stress that's accumulated in the nervous system. That's the main reason Nina and I teach in Los Angeles. We teach hundreds of people. The biggest reason that they come in is anxiety. And we've seen it work from day one. I had one fellow who said to me, he said, he was 49. He said, I've been working on my stress, trying to resolve anxiety. He's had things since he was in 9th grade. And he said, like sweaty palms and different indications of anxiety. And he said, your technique fixed this in 20 minutes. We say these things that seem impossible to believe. Okay, here, Andrew Ross Sorkin, he uses it for collecting yourself and for getting an edge. Ken Gunsberger, another trader, he says to be less emotional and to gain productivity. These are good things, and these are valid, and these are things that happen. More even keel is definitely, it's related to anxiety, and it's one of the things people love about TM. It's just, hey, something just happened. You know, you lost a trade. You just, something not so good happened. You found out that you just, your spouse put a dent in the car. It doesn't have to be the rest of the day or that week. These things dissolve much more quickly. So this fellow, Gunsberger, also does it for the creativity. And he says that they'll have sessions where a thought passes through their head that suddenly provides a solution he's been looking for. Sleep does that too. A lot of times you wake up in the morning and, oh, wait a minute, I have the perspective, I get it. You know, this is the idea. Well, TM does that. You don't have to sleep. You don't have to wait till the end of the evening. You just, a lot of times during the TM, we get these insights. I help my daughter. My daughter's 43. She's in business. And she'll call me up. This started early on. But anyways, you know, I advise people on public speaking. Hey, Dad, you know, can you give me a talk? And so I'll give her a title. And then she'll say, yeah, that's pretty good. Call me back again after you've meditated. So they get better. So this is a nice quote from the fellow named Filoni. He says, they see Ray's success, and how are you going to argue with the guy who makes $5 million a day? And what does that mean? During this lunch period, he's already made, you know, 300,000 or something. So it's hard to argue with him. Okay, so what are the real effects of TM? And here's another movie, Wall Street, 1987, gave a good picture of the life there. And then I like to play music. And just to give the idea, I put in this song to contrast with this nice, tinkly, sweet music. And this is a song that's often played like at sporting events. Another one, Bites the Dust. It's a song that goes with competition. And again, in the interest of having more time to take your questions, we won't play this. Okay, so Mike Love and Howard Stern. Mike Love, maybe not so much. Is he known? He's the Beach Boys, head of the Beach Boys. He's been here. Okay, yeah. He just had his autobiography came out, and he and I are actually good friends. And Howard Stern, how about Howard? Does he get exposure over here? You know, he's the reason that a lot of people come to us, because he's continuously on his talk show advocating Transcendental Meditation. And look at his hair. I mean, if there's somebody who has credibility, it's Howard Stern. And so they had a conversation. This was at a concert, and they passed one another. And Mike related this afterwards. He said that what they said to, and these are hard-nosed guys. When I talked to another person in the recording industry about Mike Love, he said, well, you know what his reputation is, don't you? I didn't, but I didn't have to after what he said. He's a hard-nosed guy. And they said, meditation is not for wusses. It's not just something, you know, that makes you kind of withdrawn and quiet like that. It's not, and we don't advocate that. Okay, so the contrast is other meditations are like resting an arrow on the bow. And then Transcendental Meditation is the bow drawn back. So why don't, I'm kind of keeping track of time, why don't I go like another 5 minutes, just tell you a little bit about the real effects. I'll play the clip of someone actually meditating. I think that's the only clip that I'll show. In case the technology doesn't work, we'll just have the one to deal with. So here, in fact, here's that tape. Here is that effect of TM. Actually, I'm going to talk a little bit more, and then I'll play the tape, and then we'll take questions. The brain waves during Transcendental Meditation differ from those doing anything else. So here, at the top, are the brain waves, very intense gamma waves during concentration. Everybody would know what that's like when you're really, really focusing. which is often considered to be the ideal in meditation. It's like that. You can get a headache from too much focusing. This, a guided meditation, is the experience listening to one of those very sweet tapes. You know, it's relaxing. Um, it's daydreaming. It's the same thing you do if you're daydreaming. And it actually also happens on the surface of the mind. Transcendental meditation has coherent alpha waves. Alpha, we experience it a little bit at the junction point of maybe when you're falling asleep sometimes. It's both you're awake and you're also deeply relaxed. Both of those things. And so that's the point that I make. It's actually a field of infinite dynamism. And so the point that I make about the real reason Wall Street does it, yes, it's silence, but it's dynamism. It's dynamism at the same time. Ray Dalio says that it's becoming an intellectual Navy SEAL. He says this himself, and let's see what, okay, here he says, he'll be able to deal with challenges like a ninja. Calm, clear-headed state so that when challenges come at you, you can deal with them like a ninja. Be calm, in a calm, thoughtful way. But that's not the only thing that ninjas do. So it's actually to be able to perform at very high intensity. And he has a very radical culture. One of the things that really leaves an impression on me is he says, if you, at that company, if you talk about somebody behind his back in a negative way, it's cause for dismissal. This is a very intense place. So, and with each of the people, it's a similar thing. What really comes with the TM? Endurance, persistence, toughness. This is a fellow that we knew as he was growing up. I saw him on TV the other day. And he's a tournament poker champion. They have millions in chips in front of them. And he's a lifelong meditator. And many instances of that. This isn't the actual fellow. I realized I could have gotten this picture off from Facebook. But there was another TM kid who grew up. He's now in his early 40s. And when day trading broke, he got in on the ground floor, and he had to open up accounts in the Cayman Islands to store his money. So let me play you that video, and then we'll take questions. And here we go.
What I'd like to do now is actually show you how the brain changes dramatically
More volume.
when a person begins the Transcendental Meditation.
More volume.
Technique. So what I've done is selected 4 leads, 4 points on the scalp. This front top one is the front left of the brain. This bottom
No, it's okay, because I just want him to see what happens.
These are eye blinks here. These 2 are in the back part of the brain.
All this
So
doesn't
those
matter.
are the eyes of the
Main
front
thing I
part
want
of
you
the
to see
brain
what happens
as
when
your
she starts to
executive
meditate.
center. The back is your visual processing center. The point I want you to notice is a number of things. What's going on in the front of the brain is different than what's going on in the back.
Please.
Also notice how
Thank you.
active, how thick these signals are. This is very fast processing. What we'll do now is we'll have Dariana close her eyes, and she'll begin the TM technique. And what you'll notice is one thing is this fast activity will begin to disappear, and you'll see very slow rhythmical activity. And you'll also see it in all the different sensors. So now close your eyes, begin to meditate.
Just that moment. That's what I wanted you to see.
That's been 6 seconds. And now notice this back part of the brain. Here's the rhythmical alpha activity. It was first seen here in the back of the brain, because this is your visual center. When you close your eyes, that part of the brain can rest. Notice as well, we see this rhythmical resting rhythm of the cortex here in the front of the brain. That whole mental chatter that's constantly going on, evaluating, deciding, planning, worrying, all of that is settling down, is the whole conscious experience is becoming more whole, complete. What we'll do now is just watch the brainwaves for about 2 minutes while Dariana meditates.
So we're not going to use up 2 minutes doing that, but that continues. That alpha coherence, it starts immediately. It starts immediately with brand new meditators. So it was not a stretch. This fellow with the anxiety who said to me, you just cured lifelong anxiety in 20 minutes. It's what happens. It's like a really good tranquilizer, but it also makes us more lively. So now, please, we have another. How long do we have for questions? Till 2 o'clock. Okay. So.
Would you like to take the questions then?
Yeah, whichever. Can. Well, I like to stand, but I could.
Okay, so we'll take some questions, and when we'll hand the microphone around, and if you could just say who you are, what company you're with, or what your, just give us a little bit of background, what your interest is in this, before you ask your question, that would be helpful.
Peter Kwong, Alpha Group. Just to make sure that I understand correctly, so this is basically help you to calm down from a stressful environment to a really calm, relaxed
Okay,
state.
no, that's the perfect question because it's 200%. It helps you calm down and makes you more lively and creative at the same time. That's what these brain waves mean. This is calming down, those in the middle. What happens with this is you actually get more calm, and we've also done research and we found that you actually get like an artificial tranquilizer inside because the body likes to, but at the same time you become more creative, more clear-headed, and more dynamic. And that's exactly the point that I'm making in this talk. Don't think it's about withdrawing. It's about achieving. So many stories that I know of people, very, very high achievements, who started from nothing.
Yeah, I think creativity is obviously very important. I mean, a lot of times when I, read a lot of books, and they said that the calming down and then creativity let you open boxes that you don't know that they exist.
Absolutely, yes.
So you can go beyond those boxes.
Yes.
Which is, open up another new dimension. So yeah, I think that would be great.
Exactly. That's perfect. I mean, the name of this technique is Transcendental Meditation, and that's a great description. We go outside the boundaries of our usual life into this more unbounded state and open up boxes. Yeah, that's
open up beyond the boundary that.
Exactly. Yes. 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 Please.
Katrina Rogers, and my interest is both partly professional, because I do actually lead meditation groups, but this is a personal interest. I'm a long-term meditator myself.
Transcendental meditation?
No, not transcendental.
Okay, all right.
Just, so I'm very interested. But anyway, the impact on, you said it's dynamic as well.
Yes.
Relaxing this. So what's the impact on the parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system and its impact, therefore, onwards on health?
Okay, and we have close to 700 scientific research studies on transcendental meditation. Most of them pertain to health. It's a very powerful health technique. The parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and this is where I usually call on my science assistant Nina to help me, but it balances. It balances both. And so, parasympathetic has to do with gaining profound rest. And so it does it, but it's like the rest of a launching pad. Yes, you gain that rest, but then on that basis, very high performance. So this doesn't come up.
With the high performance.
Say it again?
No adrenaline accompanies the high performance dynamics.
Oh, no, there probably is. Go ahead, Nina.
The thing is, and this has been our experience in teaching thousands of people, the experience is very different according to the individual, because this technique allows the body to reestablish balance. So some people find, one lady who had suffered from dry mouth for years and years, dry mouth, dry eyes, and when she meditates, her eyes water and her mouth waters and all like that. Somebody else who was very shy found that they became chatty in the office. It's a balancing out that happens in a very profound way. And the other point that I wanted to make was about, what was the other part of your question?
Whether there was, any adrenaline or
Yes, thank you. There has been research that shows we still get spikes of adrenaline, of cortisol, because that's the way our body reacts when we're under pressure. But with this technique, there's much faster recovery. So if you need the cortisol, to react quickly in some instances, then it's there, but there's much faster recovery. And if I can tell just a personal incident, I was speeding down the freeway, going a little too fast, and Jim was resting. I think he might have been doing his meditation. We were late for an appointment. And somebody began to drive into my lane. And without even thinking, I did this, around that person. And then I continued driving. And what really I noticed was that even though I had that very fast reaction so that I didn't hit the person, I didn't feel nervous, jittery, and all like that. It was really just that proof of what they say is that the body recovers faster. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
So,
Okay.
any other questions?
More questions.
How long in a day do you reckon we should spend doing this?
Okay, good. So it's very standardized, and it's done for 20 minutes twice a day. And all these effects come from just that, 20 minutes. Because that's a hard part for people. When we train people, that's one of the things that we always try to figure out strategies of, okay, when can you do this 20 minutes, when the children are asleep, or, on the commuter train, or when can you do it? But what begins to happen is that people realize that the payback, it's a financial audience, it's a payback question. Payback is so much that we take that time. The payback in terms of clarity, effectiveness. We have a friend who's in real estate, and I actually have her mentioned in one of the later slides that I didn't show. And she and her husband amassed many square kilometers of land in California. And she said that one day it got to be about 5:30, and she told everybody, leave me alone, I'm tired, and I'm going to meditate. And then at 5:30 at night, and then after that they had a competitive session with another party, both of them interested in buying the same property. And she did her meditation, she went into the meeting. The other person, all she could do to try to throw off the effect of the day was to drink some coffee. And she said it was unfair. It was such a complete mismatch. She was fresh, she was focused, she had her priorities clear. And so when people realize the benefit of it, then there's time. There's always time. David Lynch is a famous filmmaker in the U.S. and other parts of the world. and I meet these directors and producers. Their time is, for some reason the word scrunched came into my mind. I mean, it's incredibly compactified, so many demands, so many people waiting in line to speak with them. He never misses a meditation. He's been meditating over 40 years, and he never misses. He just goes into his trailer on the set, closes the door, and does his meditation. And it's because of the payback. Good, okay.
I have a question.
Where are you?
I'm here beside you. So when we think about meditation, we think of traditional meditation with the mystics and the religious people and holy people, and it seems to be a way of centering yourself so that you generally will go out into the world and spread goodwill and whatever. And traditionally we think of people in the finance industry as being greedy and grabbing and taking and tromping all over everybody for their own gain. And then you bring these two together. And so is this just a tool by which people who have a lot gain more? What does it bring to, how does it affect their humanity? Does it affect their humanity? Is this, as I say, just a tool by which people gain and gain for themselves, or does that get spread out a little bit to the greater world?
Uh-huh. So everybody thinks I'm going to say it gets spread out, and that's what I'm going to say. Because what happens is this this balancing is a term we've already used. You know, so a person becomes more balanced. If somebody is kind of greedy and overly aggressive, that actually even can be counterproductive, and it can waste time. And so that softens. And TM develops the mind, but it also develops the emotions in the heart. So people become more appreciative of other people. They become, this is something in teaching it that we hear often from families. We have mothers who come and learn from us just so that they will be better with their children. But also in the world of stockbrokers, because that's what you're asking about, we have instances where they'll say, you know, my staff asked, what are you doing that's different? How come, you know, you come out, you talk to us, you're friendly, where you were not before? So actually people become nicer. We taught United States Marines, and in part of our introductory talk, we were explaining first of all to the social workers, and we were saying, you know, this makes people gentler and nicer. And they said, leave that part out. But when we trained the Marines, that's what we found. They were actually quite nice, gentle people anyway, but they became even more so. So that's what, you know, it's a great question, but that's what happens, is that people become sweeter and nicer, but also, then there can be this combination. And I've seen this sometimes in Hong Kong, this is something you'll know. Very sweet, and also getting to the goal that you want to get to. Both of those things. So, does that help?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, just how does it make you become sweeter and more human, if you like?
Okay. So these brain waves that I'm showing, and I have it, let's see, what did I do? So, there we go. The whole brain gets bathed in this alpha. So then, and the stress becomes less. It's usually stress that gives us this hard edge where we can be difficult. And the stress dissolves, and then when the whole brain is developing, then those parts of the brain what is it, limbic system, some parts that have to do with emotion and like that, they develop. We teach this to prisoners. That is the broader picture. TM. Nina wants to tell the story of a fellow, because it's a favorite story of yours, of a fellow that we just taught, a homeless guy. And we taught him ourselves.
This man's name, this man's name, funnily enough, was George Washington. He was a homeless vet who was living in a broken down trailer in the desert. And he got in touch with the David Lynch Foundation and received a scholarship to learn this technique. He found his way to our TM Center. And he learned, and immediately he just became more developed as a person. He had had problems of drug addiction and mental illness and all of these associated problems, which often afflicts the veterans who've been, exposed and have PTSD. And he just changed, and he became, he became more creative. He put himself into a truck driving school. There were a lot of programs for rehabilitating the veterans, but he hadn't been able to make use of them. And we got a notice from him recently with big grin on his face. And he had just completed his first paid truck, he was a long haul trucker at this point. And what a turnaround for this person. And at the same time, he was organizing to help other people in his community. And really, so it's this full development, because as Jim was saying, stress is what blocks that flow of our humanity. You said what makes us more human, and it's stress that keeps us from experiencing our full potential. And this technique allows us to experience what our own true nature is.
I'm Kate Whitehead. I'm a journalist, and I'm also on the board. I'm just wondering, there are many different kinds of meditation practices out there, and many of them are available for free. I'm just wondering, is this a practice that you could learn for free if you wanted, or is it you can only learn if you pay to learn?
We have these foundations like this. George Washington learned for free because he applied and it was given to him for free. But I was saying earlier, you can't learn this from a book. You can't really have your friend go in and learn it and then come back and tell you how to do it. For the same reason, it will not work. And so there is a course fee. What is the course fee, Grace? $6,800. So there is a course fee, and there are many benefits to that. We're a nonprofit organization, but the course fee allows us to be professional. And, we don't just put out a hat and see what people want to do. But we also have a scholarship fund, and we, if a person has need, then we can adjust their course fee and like that. But we also love to see commitment. We love to, if we're going to train somebody and we're going to spend so much time, it's just as like we just become like mother and father to this person, and for the rest of their life, we just always want to know. And it's a one-time front-loaded course fee for the rest of their life. And then we like to know that they have some commitment. But there's one physician, her name is Kulreet Chowdhury, and she's a physician in San Diego. And she sends many of her patients, and she says this is the best bargain that there ever could be. It's just, talk about payback on all levels. It's just amazing. Yeah. Yes?
And then if anyone else has actually, can we ask all the questions together? Is there anyone else who has any more questions? before? Okay, Katrina, do you want to have the second last question? Because I've got the last question.
And then the third one. Yeah, because the claims that you're making, and I believe them, you say that they're scientifically verified and everything, but there are other meditation techniques who also make similar claims. And the one that I think probably most clearly is, Meng Chade's book, Search Inside Yourself, appropriately called because he's a director of Google. And when he did mindfulness, he was so impressed with what it did for him that he has now introduced mindfulness as part of the corporate culture in Google. And many of the claims are similar. So I'm kind of interested what sets TM apart from that. And when you say,
Okay, now we got to remember, because it's a multi-part question. So one, what sets us apart from mindfulness? Go ahead.
Well, and just looking at this, I was just saying to Nina earlier, you've got synchronicity, which by listening to technical music and the entrainment of the brain, you can definitely get into alpha and theta and delta. I mean, I've seen
Okay.
it, and I've seen the EKGs after that as well. So I'm just curious what makes makes TM stand apart.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the those two are what happens in mindfulness, and I've done a lot of research on it because we see so much of it, and the transcending happens in Transcendental Meditation. Now, mindfulness, for the most part, there are a lot of varieties of mindfulness. You certainly can learn it from a book. You can learn it from a friend who tells you how to do it. Your psychologist might say, yes, here's this practice, do it for 2 minutes, whatever. It's not carefully quality controlled the way the Transcendental Meditation is. And we do it to preserve this experience of transcending, this going to this profound inner silence. And there are lots of forms of mindfulness. You can do it with your eyes open. A lot of times the emphasis is being in the moment. So being in the moment during the day. It's like we should all be aware that we're sitting at this table, talking about meditation. And it's an intellectual thing, being aware in the moment. Transcendental meditation, we don't do that. We transcend in the morning, and we grow progressively in this inner ocean of bliss, progressively like that. And so it's very different. A lot of the descriptions may sound the same, and I'll read descriptions of, and they'll teach you in a magazine article, here's how to do mindfulness practice, concentrate on your breathing, sit up straight. It's harmful to concentrating on your breathing. You don't do it, and you don't have to sit up straight. We do recommend that you not lie down, but you could do it lying down even.
Any more questions? So I have one final question. If we are to leave this room and pursue this path of learning more and being taught transcendental meditation, what is the one thing you would say to us that would convince us that we have to do this? Because we're just about to walk out the door to our busy lives, and by the end of today we might have forgotten all about this.
Wonderful question. You know what? This is what occurs to me. My father died at 42. I've lived for 30 years beyond that already, and the reason for its happening is only this practice. They'd have found out, in looking at my physiology, they found out about 6 or 7 years ago, I have the exact same thing that he had. It's called a dilated aortic root, and I have it. And the only reason that I live so much longer is I began addressing stress early on. It's the most profound thing that we can do. And in a lot of ways, I just realized that kind of incidentally, there are certain things that I gave up smoking early on, but even, how I would exercise or whether I would exercise really rigorously. I mean, I'm in perfect health, 100%. I don't have anything. There are no symptoms of this. But it's a little silent thing. And everybody not have that. No people don't have to face that. But there are little things. Cancer, risk of cancer, risk of dementia, all these things. And this gets the physiology working at the optimum level. I'm preparing right now a book with a man named Hari Sharma. I did a book with him called The Answer to Cancer. And this book is about DNA and epigenetics and the purpose of life. The purpose of life, why are we here, what are we doing with our time, is to perfect our physiology. Anything else is not the best use of our time. Now this technique is a balance of both. You balance your physiology for 20 minutes and have a totally dynamic day. But this is the only reason Nina and I are retirement age. We travel around the world, we teach this because we hear thank you very much all the time. And I thank you.
And on that note, thank you very much, Dr. Meade. Thank you everyone for coming.